Welcome to the Stable Block, the vlog where I talk about making a horse game while living in a 1970s communist block apartment. I'm Ellie, and I've been making games about horses for over 2 decades. A year ago, I moved my family from Indianapolis, Indiana, in the United States, to Sofia, Bulgaria, in Eastern Europe. I want to share a story with you because life here in the old country is pretty neat. I live here with my husband, Scott, and our 9-year-old daughter, and our partner, Jenks. My life's work is my website, HorseGeneticsGame.com. I've been making this game for half my life now, and I think it's time I start to share more of the development side with you. So in this vlog, you can expect a mix of what's going on in the game and what's going on with our lives here in Bulgaria. Next time, I'll cover some more of the life stuff, but for this vlog, let's keep it easy. In the past couple of weeks, I've been working on our new curly breed characteristics, streamlining the barn page, and some dynamic kit expression updates. Let's start with the curly. This is a curly horse, and this is the art Jenks made for us. My job is to take this skin layer and combine it with this art to make a finalized horse. To do that, I use the specially made warping software to push and pull the skin into the desired shape. It takes a lot of back and forth, but in the end, I have a beautiful curly-coated horse. After the adult is done, I do the same process again to create the full version. And after multiple hours of work condensed into just a few moments, we have a completed adult and full curly horse pair. With the curly horse done, I'll let past Ellie talk about organizing the new barn page updates. So let's start with how we got in this state. My game was founded in 2006, so it's almost 20 years old. And in that almost 2 decades, I have bolted a ton of features and functionality onto the game. Sometimes I was limited by the technical ceiling for websites at that time, but frankly, mostly I've been limited by my skills and my time. It's hard to rebuild a ship while also sailing it. So we've got this page here that's a bit of a mess, and I want to do some improving on it. So let's take a look at where we're starting and make some plans. So here's our start. We've got a big blob of barn and pasture names at the top. It's not too bad on this account, but this list can get massive for some members. There's no limit to the number of barns you can have, just to the number of total stalls. So for our people with 20, 30, 40 plus barns, this is out of control. Also buried in here is a link to edit these names. And this is hard to spot, and it goes to this clunky secondary page you can see here. It's not great. I'd like to keep everything on the same page. So let's add to our to-do list reconstructing barn and pasture navigation and changing how name editing works. Scrolling down, we have this main stable block. I think it functions well enough, but I'd like to add some alt/hover text to help new members navigate. Next, we have these horse moving drop-downs. This works, but it's not my favorite. Sometimes we have new members get confused thinking you need to select both drop-downs, and I don't love that it's the only barn interaction that's part of this main stable block. I want to make sure and move it. You can see we've got this big drop-down listing the barns and pastures you've got. And again, for big barns, this can get really huge. Next, we have bulk showing. This option predates the checkboxes in the stable block. So instead of entering your selected horses, it always enters every horse in the barn. That's not consistent with how anything else works on this page. So I want to change it up so it also works based on checkboxes. The problem with making it work on checkboxes is readily apparent in this 1,000 stall barn. You can see it just goes on. And if you get all the way down to the bottom of this page and have to go back up to the top to select things, it's a pain in the ass. So I want to go ahead and add a selection toggle down here, just like we've got at the top of the page. That'll make it easier to select horses without having to do a bunch of scrolling. So far our to-do list is barn and pasture navigation, changing barn and pasture renaming, barn hover text, move this horses section somewhere more convenient, and add user info. I think we can think of a cleaner way to display move these horses as well. Instead of entering everything, we want enter this barn to only enter the selected horses, and finally have a select all toggle at the bottom of the stable block. Now we're into bulk stable management. This works okay. Visually, it's a bit messy, but it's probably not worth a total redesign right now, given everything else we're working on. The thing I don't like is how it displays both the alert messages and the result messages. So, for example, we have this default JavaScript alert. It works, it's not that attractive. Then when you get the results back from that, you get this huge text block. Again, not too bad on this account, but if you've got a 1,000 stall barn, this rapidly gets out of control. So I want to move these results into their own pop-up as well. So adding to our to-do list, we have bulk stable management warning pop-ups and bulk stable management result pop-ups. Last on the page is bulk testing. I want to make this visually align with the bulk stable management. That means these boxes, same as above, and provide more information to help users understand what these do, plus the pop-up updates from before. That's everything on this page currently. The other thing I want to do is get all the stable management functions into a single area. We've got auto show settings on their own page here, which isn't a great way to handle it. Plus, upgrading and removing barns is on a completely another page altogether. I want to get everything consolidated onto the barn page, and I think tabs are going to be the best for navigating that. I think that's the scope of the project figured out. It's a pretty big list, so let's get started and see what we can accomplish. After making my plan, I got stuck right into working on barn updates. Unfortunately, I can't show you any of this coding, as it's just too big of a security risk. You'll see more code when I'm working on the image generator, though. This is a really large project, so my first step is to get some easy wins out of the way and set up the foundations for the later updates. I quickly got the new checkbox toggle working. This was really easy, as cloning the header bar worked perfectly, no modifications needed. Next, I focused on the CSS tooltips. I had to do a bit of fighting with it, because there is always some fight when dealing with CSS. I don't know how vital these tooltips are, but I will always remember the user who altered a bunch of horses shortly after the color names were added to the barn page, because they didn't realize the names were abbreviated. More info certainly won't hurt. With the easiest parts of the job finished, I decided to tackle organizing things into tabs. This layout would inform all the work to come, so getting the tabs in place early was incredibly important. With tabs working, I took some time to organize and unify our display boxes. Getting them onto a set width grid made them a lot easier to read. I also added information about all the bulk testing features. New members often have a lot of questions about these, so hopefully this helps. Once this was done, I did my final testing and pushed it out to the live servers. Here's how it looked in the game when it first went out. Shortly after, I added auto show settings as well. Let's update that to-do list. That's tooltips, the select all toggle, and tabs off the list. It took multiple days of work to get these few easy wins, so it's becoming apparent how big of a project this really is. I'll need to break it up with other work as I go and spread this project out over a number of vlogs. With the first push of barn updates finished, I switched gears to do some fixes with kit generation. The generator is having some difficulties combining high white kit genes like Sabino 1 with low white genes like W20. It also behaved differently depending on the order that the genes appeared in the genotype. To fix this issue, I added additional logic to the generator. Instead of merging with the other gene it was interacting with, it now behaves more like a pure booster. That got me a much better looking and more realistic generation. Here's the before. The apple-sized blobs of color were not giving off the look I wanted. Plus, if the genes were in the other order, you could get fully white horses. And here is the after. We now have a lovely range of expression and variation that stays truer to how these genes are expressed in real life. I figured out how to get the webcam set up, so I can actually be on screen for the rest of this. And now here's some footage of me editing a YouTube short while I talk about why I'm doing this vlog. Websites and games are always losing members. To keep afloat, we have to always be bringing in new players. This is called churn in the industry. In the past, paid advertising was a great way to get new players, but advertising changes with time. And these days, just talking to people and sharing what you do works better than any ad. So I'm moving towards dumping our paid ads and just talking to you like a person. You can expect shorts and vlogs about the game and about horse genetics on this channel. If you are the kind of nerd that's into that, I hope you'll subscribe. As an additional incentive, Here's a view of the sunrise from my balcony. Bulgaria is old and a bit dysfunctional, but at its core has a heart of kindness. It's a beautiful place to be. I feel like the same was true for my game, and that's why we're a good fit here in Bulgaria. Thanks for watching my first vlog. It's been an emotionally difficult thing to create. It's uncomfortable talking about my family and my life's work in such an open and vulnerable way. Your support means so much. And I've heard from the Colt and Philly Fairies that if you post a horsey emoji in the comments, you'll have good luck next breeding season. Those of you who watch to the end are the best. I've included links for a 1,000-point show horse in the description as thank you. These links are good through March 19th. Till next time, hugs and carrots.